Hi, Tito.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
I would like to start with a question nobody ever asked you.
Oh.
How was it to work in From Dusk Till Dawn? No, I'm just kidding. Don't answer that. Don't answer that. So, to the real question. You've been in the music business for more than 3 decades. You've played punk in the 70s. You did music, film music for Repo Man, 84, I think that was.
Yeah.
And so on, until this day, 2015.
Yes.
Where do you see the difference between being a musician or an artist today compared to the times when you started?
30 years ago.
Exactly.
I guess the difference was the naivety of being an artist back then was a kind of a nice thing that I miss.
Okay.
And I see it in young artists. There's so much information that there are still surprises. There will always be surprises.
Of course.
But it's a little different the way the surprise comes about, because you've heard of it already. You've heard that could happen. When we were young and trying to do our music or our art or whatever, we really had no concept of what was coming, and the surprises were big, and the mistakes were very big, and the successes were good too. But I think the biggest difference is that the information wasn't there, and you really were making it up as you go along.
So you would say it was, you were mentioning naivety, so it was maybe a little more free, or you had less pressure maybe also?
Yeah, in a way I think the kids today have a lot more pressure because they know everything. They can in 1 second Google it and get some information, when we definitely couldn't do that. And there was some sort of a freedom in that.
I see. Well, talking about information, technology, and so on. I mean, nowadays we have Facebook, YouTube, and so on. Do you use it for marketing purposes or communication purposes?
Well, it's interesting because I've been around so long. Yes, we do use it, but it's still kind of alien to me, even though I've had a computer since AOL started. The old traditional put up the poster, people will come, it's different now. And I know because my daughter has a band and she doesn't even think about posters. It's all done on Facebook, and it works. But it's different. It is different. I still have trouble with it. I feel kind of naked. Like, are you sure somebody's going to come to the show without posters or calling on the phone? But it works. So it's just a different way.
Sure. You are a musician. You make film music. You are an actor. Was that always a plan of yours to try different kind of creative outlets in case one wouldn't work?
Well, no, it wasn't a plan. It was just even when I was a little boy, I knew that I wanted to be on a stage. I did a play, and I wore a donkey head. This was in the 1st grade. And when I turned really fast, the donkey head stayed, and I couldn't see. And I heard everybody laughing. And I knew I wanted to make people, laugh or be entertained. So as a child, I did plays, I did choir singing, I did music, art, because I knew that this was something that I loved, So when I got to Hollywood, or actually before Hollywood, when I was in Mexico City, I did a lot of acting. I studied acting in school.
Okay.
I did a lot of theater before I did film. And even in Hollywood, when I got to Hollywood, I did a lot of theater first. And then the film and television came later, the jobs. But my first real job was with a great actress named Bea Richards, who won an Oscar for a very famous movie in the 60s called Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with Sidney Poitier.
Yeah.
And she taught me so much. I did this play and we toured all over California, and it was a union gig, and it was the first money I ever got. And I just thought, this is something I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I don't care if it's $25 or $250,000. I want to do this.
So because you were in there with your heart.
Yes,
right?
and the people that I was working with were professional, and it was about fame and fortune, but not really. It was about the art form. I also danced. I was in a ballet company. I danced in the National Ballet in Mexico, and I did theater in Mexico. I worked with Jodorowsky was a very famous avant-garde film guy, and there was a play that Picasso wrote that I got to be in and study with these people who had studied with him, and he was very famous at the time in Mexico.
Okay. Great.
Jodorowsky was his name.
Okay. And I was watching this interview on YouTube, and you said your answer to a question was you prefer spaghetti westerns to American westerns, like Italian kind of compared to Western, because or also the music is more romantic.
Yes.
So what I hear out there, romanticism or romance important for you in music or art. So nowadays, with the music marketplace being, music being treated like a commodity, in my personal opinion, there is little romance to that. What's your perception?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing that you said, and I find that the romance aspect comes a little later in maturity too. So what's happened a lot is, I think, in the marketing and the publicist aspect of the music industry, youth dominates because the youth tend to immediately go out and love something, not for a very long time. But as they get older, if the artist transfers to this area, I think as you get older, when your frontal lobe is connected at 25, the romance plays a different role. And I find that there's not a lot of room for that, maybe. You have to kind of look for that. It's there, but you have to really search
exactly.
the internet for it.
That's a good answer. And maybe our last question for today. We call it the bonus question because it's a little different. So the bonus question is, if you can choose, either you get 100 million views on your After Dark official video on YouTube, or you can sell 1,000 vinyl of Lost Tarantism on this tour. Which one would you prefer?
I'd rather sell the vinyl, to be honest with you.
Why?
I think what's happening today is a real crime. I watched this show before I came here about, I forget his name, but he had, I think, 35 million hits on Spotify, and I think he received $1,200. And I don't see how that's a balance. There's an imbalance, and then when the imbalance is not even addressed, then the audience or the people, the consumers, don't realize that there's an injustice here. This is when there's this big of a gap, it's compounded, and over the years, in 10 years from now, you will feel the impact, and I don't think you can feel it now. But hopefully Spotify comes around and sees that this is not something that will sustain itself. The quality will just be horrendous. I mean, talk about mediocrity. It'll be so mediocre. I can't even say the word, but mediocrity will be at a really high point. And it's a shame because the audience is more intelligent than that. But we'll see what happens. I hope it gets better. And I hope I sell 1,000 records.
So do I. I hope so as well. Thank you so much, Tito. It was a pleasure.
My pleasure.
All the best.
Okay. Arrivederci.
Arrivederci. Ciao.